Now, I appreciate you checking out this video. Before I continue, I want you to go to theultimatejetguide.com, where I've put together a full guide for jet buyers like yourself. Aircraft lending in 2023, we've seen kind of a historic last couple of years for private aviation, especially when it comes to pricing and lending. And now we're going into 2023. You know, I know a lot of buyers are kind of curious like what it's going to look like, because it's going to be a different landscape from the previous 2 years. Can you tell us a little about what you see ahead of 2023 and how that's going to differ from what we've had in the past year or two?
Sure. Rates probably the number one item on people's list. It's probably the number one focus, especially from the consumer side. The buyers, the clients, you know, they're very in tune with, you know, seeing the changes in rate or the rate changing environment over the last few months. I think that's going to continue, although I think there's a little bit of a bite initially. You know, there's usually a 6 to 9 month lag with people understanding what the current rate environment is, and then when you see these swift changes in rates, you know, it takes a little while for people to catch up and get accustomed to what the current rates are. Buying power is obviously a concern, similar to many industries. You know, as the rates go up, buying power goes down. So, you know, it is something to be aware of, concerned, you know, maybe over the next quarter or so, first quarter of the year, in regards to catching people up with current rates. You know, people are still trying to negotiate rates down into the, you know, low fives. I've heard that a few times, especially in December, when people are trying to close, you know, right before the end of the year. But it is something that'll continue to be a topic of conversation. It's probably good to set expectations, you know, when folks are discussing the finance, to set those expectations early, so they know kind of what they're getting into, and, you know, it's not going to be a road bump. You know,
so based on that, kind of two questions: is it better to buy sooner rather than later because of where the rates are going, in your opinion?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a couple things at play. It's not just the rates. You know, you're seeing, we're hearing, you know, activity-wise, you know, pricing is, I wouldn't say coming down in all facets. Maybe in certain parts of the market, pricing's coming down, values are coming down. So it's kind of a, you know, I don't know where the defining
Sure, it's
point
pricing and rates. Yeah, for sure. And what's interesting, what we've seen in the pricing perspective is, well, prices have kind of started to stabilize. They've kind of slipped a little bit from the peak that we had at the beginning of last year. I remember, you know, just a legacy Citation 5 was like $800,000 back in 2019, 2020. It shot all the way up to almost $2 million at the peak. Now we're kind of seeing it stabilize around the 1.4 to 1.6 range. But what I'm seeing is, and kind of to your point, is it's not just the rates that are impacting that, but the sellers themselves don't have to sell. So it's not just because we have higher rates now the prices are going to down. If in the used market especially, if the sellers don't have to sell, they can wait for their price point.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things going on. You know, it's definitely an interesting market. Light inventory for the last couple of years has kind of put us at a point where, you know, supply demand, it's a topic of conversation. People sitting on the sidelines until they see, you know, something change in regards to rates or maybe, you know, greater inventory, depending on whether you're on the buying side or the selling side. So there's a lot to consider. You know, I think the first quarter, maybe the first 2 quarters of 2023, will be a little bit of a different pace than what we've seen over the last couple of years, obviously. And then second half of 2023, I feel we get a little bit more into a groove.
Oh, for sure, for sure.